A Minnesota tenant is upset after her landlord evicted her after she broke into a utility closet after she didn't pay her utility bill and her utilities were turned off. Now she's claiming that it's not fair. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Are you an aspiring landlord looking to buy your first rental property? Or perhaps you're a small real estate investor with one or two properties and you're trying to move up to the next level. You could use consulting, and I'm offering consulting here through Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. If you're interested, please send me an email at tony@northomahainvestments.com. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, Minneapolis is, well, we'll just call it the most progressive place in the Midwest outside of Chicago. Okay, so obviously they got a lot of anti-landlord legislation that's going on up in the Twin Cities right now, particularly St. Paul, but Minneapolis is just as bad. And this story kind of illustrates that whole thing because the entitlement that you see from this tenant, it is, it's on another level. She is so in the wrong, yet demanding that the landlord did something wrong. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, yeah, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It is hard to be on her side. And no matter how they portray the story at all, she just looks like she is just a selfish, entitled, person who deserved to be evicted for the things that she did. So, this isn't going to be an interesting story. I'm going to have to skip around a bit because this is a long article, but, I wanted to bring this case to you because it kind of looks at a different sort of scenario where utility company itself wasn't the one who turned off her power. It was a third party that turned it off. And they were saying, oh, well, this shouldn't be legal. It shouldn't be legal for a third party to turn the utilities off. And I'm thinking to myself, well, she didn't pay the bill. So, does it matter who turned it off? Not to me. And then she tried to break into the utility closet, which led to her eviction right there. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So, do you believe that third party utility companies or utility billers, I guess, should be allowed to turn off the power on tenants? Or do you believe only the utility company should be allowed to do that? Now, my personal opinion is the landlord should be able to do it. But yeah, I don't think that's legal because of, they say, oh, well, that's trying to like force an eviction. Not quite in this situation. And the article kind of explains why this situation is different. So let's get into it. This article is coming from the StarTribune.com, and it says, case of evicted Minneapolis tenant poses questions about legality of power shutoffs. All right, let's see what it says. The night before Nicole Nelwaha was scheduled to move into her new apartment, she and her children slept in the stinging confines of a portable toilet. She promised them it would be the last time. They had been homeless on and off for years, living in shelters and encampments, before Hennepin County ushered them into one of 10 units set aside for homeless families at the newly constructed Hook and Ladder Apartments in northeast Minneapolis. That was last June. 9 months later, Hook and Ladder managers moved to evict Nalewaha, accusing her of violating her lease when she broke into a utility closet to turn her power back on after the landlord's contractor, JIT Services, had disconnected it. She says she never would have had to take matters into her own hands if the power hadn't been illegally cut off in the first place. Well, she thinks it's illegally cut off, but do you think these people would have done that? Now, keep in mind, right? I want you to think about what I just read there. This is a lady who was homeless and she was provided free housing by the county. She's not paying a dime. And she's saying that, oh, well, things aren't good enough. This is an entitled attitude. She's coming from a very entitled place where she is getting a lot of free stuff handed to her. Now, I'm not saying that she didn't fall down on hard times, right? But you need to follow the rules of this place. This place probably is giving her the benefit of the doubt, giving her a good chance, giving her children a good chance to get back on your feet. And all you got to do is follow the rules. And that's, she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. Now, Iraha's case highlights how, while there are laws that protect Minnesotans from having their heat and utilities cut off during cold months, the law doesn't always apply. Last month, Hennepin County Court sided with Hook and Ladder, finding that Nalewaha had violated the landlord's rules. Her eviction is on hold as her lawyers at Mid Minnesota Legal Aid appeal. I just know how it goes, she said. I've been stuck. I'm trying to build stability. Like, we've been in and out of housing just too long. We don't even get comfortable. But whose fault is that? Whose fault is it? It's not, if you're getting evicted from one of these last chance housing places, then you've really screwed up. And the fact that you broke into a utility closet, I mean, come on, what are you doing? They gave you this place for free, and you're taking this for granted. This is like a non-profit housing provider who gave you a place to live for free, and you're breaking locks and messing with the electrical system. You probably could have discussed it with them, begged for their mercy, and then they probably would have turned it back on, because these people, they don't make money off of this stuff. I don't usually stand up for nonprofit landlords, but when you screw a nonprofit over, I mean, what do you say? What do you say? And the worst thing is, right? I don't care if this lady ends up homeless again. I don't. My problem is her children, right? Because I have kids, I love kids, and it breaks my heart thinking that, hey, these kids are going to be out homeless because their mom is an idiot. Okay, and I don't know what the solution to this sort of problem is. I My personal belief is that she shouldn't have custody of those kids if she can't provide them a safe home. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like she can do that. I just know how it goes, she said. I've been stuck. Oh, wait, I already read that. Eric Hansen, a lawyer for Hook and Ladder, maintains it was legal for its third party contractor, JIT Services, to shut off the power. He cited housing referee Miriam Marquee's decision in her case. Because the proper notice was given using JIT's internal guidelines to determine who was eligible for disconnect, the disconnect was not unlawful. Minnesota law states that if a landlord, their agent, or anyone else acting under the landlord's direction shuts off a tenant's electricity, the tenant is entitled to triple the damages caused. And so, it sounds like if the landlord themselves was to cut the power off, then this would be a problem, right? But because this is a third party contractor who isn't directly involved with the landlord, like the landlord, is basically the tenants are being charged by this third party provider for utility services, then it kind of goes around that, and they can turn off the access to power without discussing it with the landlord, without any breaking of the law whatsoever. The way the law is written, at least that's what the judge is saying. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert in what's going on up there. I'm not an expert in the laws that are in place up there. All I know is that the judge made the decision that what they did was legal, and what this tenant was doing, when they broke into the utility closet, was illegal and was grounds for eviction, and that is why she got evicted. So yeah, this is an interesting little case. I don't, like, my personal opinion is that if she had, rather than breaking into that utility closet, she had went down to the landlord, talked it out, and maybe they could have worked something out, and she wouldn't be back out on the streets. But she made the dumb decision, and just very short term, very dumb, and now she's putting her children's health and safety at risk by not being able to provide them with a stable place to live. So yeah, this is a bad situation. You know, but it does tell you something right there, that basically we have a lot of very entitled tenants out there who always think that everything they do is right, and that even the nonprofit or the government housing landlords are screwing them over because they feel like, oh, well, you owe me something. Everyone owes them something, right? And this is what happens when you put socialist systems like this in place, where people don't know or can't take care of themselves, and they always expect the government or someone else to take care of them. And we end up with tenants like this.